Is there going to be a second season of Moon Knight? The limited series Future in the Marvel Cinematic Universe appears to have been hinted at by Marvel themselves in very recent news. Here's everything you need to know about the future of Moon Knight. Also, we'll touch on other need-to-know Marvel news that you definitely do not want to miss. Marvel seems to have accidentally hinted at Moon Knight's future, and it's pretty exciting if it's true. The final episode of Moon Knight's Disney Plus show premiered very recently, and it seems that this could very well be the final chapter of Moon Knight's MCU Odyssey, at least on the little screen. However, Marvel has reportedly hinted at the potential of a second season for the character. The studio's official Twitter account hinted at such a possibility in two quickfire tweets, one of which included the words, "season finale." Moon Knight Episode 6 was supposed to be the final installment in the Marvel Phase 4 TV series, according to the Marvel Studios. The original tweet was changed, with a tweet indicating that Episode 6 would end the first season of the show less than 15 minutes later, with many MCU fans expressing enthusiasm about the potential of Oscar Isaac resuming his role as Mark Spector / Stephen Grant / Moon Knight in the future. The changed tweet swiftly garnered popularity and questions on social media. Those hopes have gone even higher, with the season finale slogan appearing in the teaser for the show's last episode. It won't be long, hopefully, before we find out if Marvel Studios has already approved a second season of Moon Knight. But it's appearing like this could definitely be the case. In other Marvel news, the MCU director of Moon Knight teases what could be next. The general cluelessness surrounding Moon Knight Season 2 is very fitting for the MCU series, which just finished its first and potentially final season on Disney+. In 2022, Marvel Studios launched their slate of programming with Oscar Isaac's Moon Knight, a new Disney+ show that will add to the franchise's streaming library, with this show being the first to debut a brand new character in a starring role within the MCU. Speculation over where Moon Knight will appear in future projects has naturally grown. Mark Spector's future in the MCU is in jeopardy with the finale's resolution, which stripped him and Stephen Grant of the Moon Knight persona and introduced the more aggressive Jake Lockley. Furthermore, the most recent update fully exposed the MCU to 3 Egyptian gods, implying that this chapter of the MCU's story should be interesting. After the first season of Oscar Isaac's solo series on Disney+, director Mohamed Diab discussed where he hopes to see Marvel take Mark Spector. Diab acknowledged in an interview that Marvel has kept him in the dark about what's next, despite his desire to direct a theatrical film for the MCU's newest major hero. He stated that he wants to see more of Jake Lockley and Layla, as well as putting Mark Spector and Stephen Grant in a blender with another Marvel character to see what happens. Furthermore, Diab also voiced his desire to continue the Moon Knight story, whether in a second season of the Disney Plus show or in a future film. In an interview with Variety, fans saw Mark and Stephen developing a new dynamic toward the close of Season 1, as well as a glimpse of Jake Lockley, the Scarlet Scarab, and other characters ahead of future stories, according to him. Although it's still too early to tell whether Marvel Studios' Disney Plus series will be renewed in future seasons, Moon Knight is in a more fascinating situation than its 5 predecessors. Loki and What If had previously been confirmed for Season 2, but WandaVision was confirmed to remain a limited series. Moon Knight, on the other hand, is distinct in that it's focused on a character who has never ever been seen before within the MCU. Throughout the majority of its existence on Disney+, Marvel and the Moon Knight team insisted on labeling the show a limited series, implying that it would end after its first and only season. What do you think will happen? If there's one thing that remains from Moon Knight Season 1, it's a handful of unanswered questions. While the finale of Moon Knight covered the major plot issues, Season 1 brought so much to the MCU that the finale was given a tall assignment. Moon Knight's last episode is the shortest of the season, clocking in at just 44 minutes, which is surprising for a show that has introduced so many new MCU components. Because Moon Knight is a relatively solitary project in comparison to previous MCU works, it was able to introduce more characters and concepts such as the Egyptian Ennead, god magic, and the presence of various afterlives. While this was very exciting to see, many things remain unanswered following Moon Knight's conclusion. First up, how many personalities does Mark actually have? Throughout Moon Knight's 6-episode run, viewers are given glimpses into Mark Spector's peculiar inner life and the chaotic tug-of-war in his head between at least two distinct egos. We see two of those personas, the ebullient Stephen Grant and the astute Mark Spector, work separately at first, then together as two halves of the same body, eventually uniting over a previous trauma they don't completely comprehend. By the end of episode 6, the show has established that a third personality is involved in Mark's life, Jake Lockley, a Brooklyn accent fighter who appears to intervene when things get too sticky for even Mark to handle. Jake is clearly intended to play a major role in the Moon Knight tale moving forward, but his unexpected appearance also begs another question. How many personas does Mark have in his body? Mr. Knight, the sharp-suited guy who conducts the talking before the action begins, is also one of his other personas in Marvel Comics, but it's unclear whether that character, or any others, will make an appearance in any upcoming season or film. Secondly, is Ammit actually dead? In the show, we saw Ammit was imprisoned in Arthur's body by a spell to make his death easier. Ammit and Arthur's Moon Knight power dynamic over Khonshu and Mark makes them a deadly combo even in mortal form. Jake Lockley shoots Arthur in the back seat of his limo at Khonshu's order in the post-credit scene, but the death occurs off-screen. Arthur accepted the position of Ammit's avatar, further complicating this seemingly clear decision. Despite the fact the spell imprisons Ammit into his body, the fact that he is her avatar may nullify the enchantment and protect them both. While Ammit's abilities killed Aeneid in the Great Pyramid of Giza, revealing that gods aren't completely invincible, a gunshot may not be enough to kill an avatar. It surely isn't for Moon Knight, who's protected by Khonshu and cannot be killed. This could, however, just apply to Khonshu's avatar. The spell might potentially override avatar abilities, effectively killing Ammit and Arthur. Next, unanswered questions on our list. Have the Avengers noticed Moon Knight yet? Whether we're talking about big screen adventures or long-form storytelling on Disney+, the MCU feeds on a sense of interconnectedness, flowing through all of its plotlines. The impact of these links on each story, however, varies greatly. Moon Knight is a television series that exists on its own, unconcerned about the greater MCU, and essentially is free to create its own narrative. All of this being said, Moon Knight is still a part of the wider MCU, which means we may see Mark Spector interact with a variety of other heroes and villains in the future. We don't know if or when that will happen, but in the wake of the first season, we can't help but wonder if any of the surviving Avengers are aware of Mark. In the Moon Knight narrative, is Doctor Strange keeping an eye on the energies of the rising and falling Egyptian gods? Is Captain America given any intelligence on the new vigilante who has been spotted in London? We have no idea. Lastly, how much time has really passed between the finale scene and the credits scene? The credits of any MCU film would be incomplete without a teaser scene, and Moon Knight is no exception. After the credits rolled, we saw the long-teased third personality Jake Lockley abducting and debilitating Arthur Harrow from a London psychiatric institution and throwing him in the back of a limo. In the limo, we discover that Khonshu is still alive and well, claiming Mark as his avatar, as evidenced by Jake's brutality. Jake kills Harrow at Khonshu's request, putting an end to the Ammit tale for good and setting up a new story with Jake as the main character. It's a fascinating moment that begs a lot of questions. The first is straightforward. How much time has elapsed between now and the last time we saw Stephen awake in his flat? The response to that inquiry could reveal a lot about Mark's current whereabouts, mental condition, and how long Jake has been out in the open like this. Unfortunately, we're not given any hints in that direction. Therefore, a second season is certainly in order. And there you have it, everything you need to know about Marvel and their accidental hint at Moon Knight's future. Thanks for watching.